This video is going to talk about the beat and the rhythm of music. So let's first look at the beat. All music has a constant beat at the base. It's constant, like a heartbeat or like a clock ticking. Sometimes it'll slow down or speed up, but generally it's constant throughout throughout the music, and especially with hymns we tend to see it being fairly constant throughout. When we look at how music is organized, though, we have this constant beat throughout, but we organize it into groups of beats. And we call that a bar or a measure. The Americans use the term a measure. And it's generally groups of 2, 3, 4, or 6 beats that are put together into a bar. And in this bar, in this measure, the first beat is going to be the most important, and it's emphasized. So we have a strong downbeat, and then we go through the rest. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have this constant as we go through. And it's similar to poetry even. And especially I love children's rhyming books. One of my favorite authors when my children was little was Julia Donaldson, and you can see it with Dr. Seuss as well. And just to read to you just a couple of lines from one of Julia Donaldson's books, The Snail and the Whale. And it goes like this. And she gazed at the sky, the sea, the land, the waves and the caves and the golden sand. She gazed and gazed, amazed by it all. And she said to the whale, I feel so small. So as I was reading that, could you feel that beat that was coming through? And she gazed at the ski. Let's try that again. And she gazed at the sky, the sea, the land, the waves and the caves and the golden land. She gazed and gazed, amazed by it all. And she said to the whale, I feel so small. So you can see as we're going through this constant beat, and there are certain syllables, certain parts that are emphasized more than others. And we have the exact same thing in music. In music, you see a bar or a measure by these lines that separate the notes. And so each time you have a bar line, the next note is going to be the first beat of that next bar. And so that's going to be the one that we emphasize. So it's exactly the same as this poetry, where we feel this rhythm as we're going through. We feel this beat as we're going through, and we emphasize particular ones because they're most important. Now, at the beginning of each piece of music, you're going to see 2 numbers written. And that is called the time signature. And the time signature tells us how many beats are in each bar, and also tells us the length of those beats. Is it a full beat? Is it a half beat? Is it 2 beats that form like two beats that form a single combined beat as we're going through? And each time signature has its own pattern, because if there are 2 beats in a bar, or if there are 6 beats in a bar, you're going to have to do more movements to be able to get you back to this is the main beat. I want to be emphasizing this main beat. And so as we in separate videos, I'll show you the different patterns for each different time signature. The top number in each time signature tells you how many beats there are in the bar. So 2, 3, 4, or 6. And then the bottom number tells you how long those beats are. The most common one will be a 4, and that's just basically means a single beat. That's just how it worked out over the years. And then it's like fractions. So just like you have a quarter, 1/4. If you have 1/2, that's actually a bigger number. Half is bigger than a quarter. And in the same way, if you see a 2 at the bottom, that is a longer beat. It's a bigger beat than the quarter note. So that would be a longer beat. Each one is going to be slower, effectively, because you're having a longer time for each beat as you're going through. And if you see an 8 at the bottom, then that's smaller than the quarter, that's an 1/8, and so then that's going to be much quicker as you go through. So it's very important that you check what pattern the time signature has, that this hymn is that you're needing to be conducting. But there are some things that it doesn't matter what pattern you're doing. There are some things that are going to be constant for all of them. So in all of them, the first beat is going to be emphasized. And the way that we emphasize that is by doing literally a downbeat. We call it the downbeat, and our hand goes down as we go through it. So it's a very strong, straight movement that we do there. And At the most basic, if you're wanting to conduct, you can actually literally just bounce your hand as you go through, similar to what I did when I read that poem, and then do a stronger, higher beat for that first beat. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is conducting. You can conduct like that. If you don't know the patterns, you just need to be communicating. So all those things I said in a previous video about having eye contact, communicating with the congregation as they're singing, you can do all of that with just doing a simple bouncing pattern like this as you go through. In the next video, I'll show you how to be using that basic pattern and just that bouncing and how to start and end a verse with each one of those. But before I end this video, I just want to talk quickly about the rhythm. So the beat is that constant that we have. If you think about drums, that would keep a constant beat in the background. But the rhythm, life would be very boring if everything was just at a constant beat like that. And so the rhythm is going to be different lengths of notes that we use. And when you look at written music, you see that we have always some kind of circle and a line going up or down. And as musicians, when we're reading the music, what that note looks like tells us how long that note needs to be. Some notes are going to just be one note per beat. Some of them you're going to hold it for 2 beats. Some of it's 2 notes within a beat. They're half each. Sometimes it's 4, 3, whatever it might be. So when you're looking at the music, just as a very basic guideline, if you see a note that's a solid, it's like colored in and then it's got a line going up, those are the notes that are 1 beat each. And the more detail there is on that note, if a line goes down and it's got a little like tail that goes up or it's joined to another note, anytime you see solid notes and they've got more detail, it means it's getting quicker and quicker, basically. So the more detail added to it, the less time we spend on that note. And then if you see a note that's hollow, so it's just got a circle and it's open in the middle and it has a line going down, or if it's just a circle on its own, those are longer notes. So solid notes are quick notes and hollow notes are longer notes that we're going to take more time on. But we use these notes of different lengths in different combinations, and that's what makes life interesting. That's what makes music interesting. If we were all the same, it would be very, very boring. So we use these different notes, different lengths to give the rhythm, to give something interesting to the music as we're going through. So even though you're conducting and you have this constant beat as you're going through, it doesn't mean that every single beat, every single movement that you do will have a note that's going to it. Sometimes you'll have you'll conduct 2 or 3 beats before we sing another note. And that's just as we try to make the music interesting. So the next video, we'll look at how to be starting and ending each verse.